Right, so for today's video, we're going to be looking into a situation that when I first started looking into it, doing a bit of research, I didn't realize just how many layers there would be. But genuinely, the more and more we go through this today, it just gets worse and worse. But let me just add some context first, right? So today we are talking about a company formerly known as Bamboo Bliss, now known as Little Peeps Co., or actually now doesn't exist, but we'll get to that in a bit. At this point, I would usually show you their social media or their website or something, to kind of show you the page we're talking about. It's all gone. The only thing I can really show you is screenshots of posts that they've made on their Facebook group. For example, this is Bamboo Bliss making a post talking about how they're changing their name to Little Peeps Co. Now I'm going to refer to the company as Bamboo Bliss throughout this because that's what they were known for the longest period of time. They only changed their name to Little Peeps Co. a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, as I just said, the company no longer exists. It wasn't called Little Peeps for long, so I'm going to call them Bamboo Bliss. That's what they're referred to mainly throughout this and also in the lawsuits as well. So there's a little spoiler for you, I guess. So Bamboo Bliss was a company that made babies clothing, maybe younger kids clothing as well. I think mainly babies clothing with bamboo, as you can probably tell by the name. And from everything that I've read online, it seemed like the quality of the clothing was never the problem, and in fact was the best part of Bamboo Bliss. The quality of the clothing was actually really good. And a lot of people did buy from this company because they knew they were going to get quality clothing if they received the clothing. Again, we'll get to that. But regardless of the fact that the clothing was decent quality, they always had a bit of a bad reputation with customer service and people actually receiving their items on time. For example, we have a post here from an anonymous member. I believe it's on the Facebook page. They had a Facebook page where I believe they did the majority of their business. There was a lot of people on there, parents, who would go on there, speak to other parents about what clothing to buy and whatnot, and they would go there to kind of talk about their orders, if they were taking too long. And like I said, here's an anonymous post, and this is before all the new stuff has happened, right? And it says, "Buyer beware Bamboo Bliss. I should have done a search in this group and I would have seen the other issues this owner apparently has with customers. I'm going to provide screenshots of my email and the owner's responses. You can form your own opinion." And in this first paragraph, it says that this customer actually purchased a pre-order in the first week of October. It was supposed to take 6 to 10 weeks to receive the item. They were then told it would actually be mid to late January that they would receive the item, plus another 4 weeks to actually ship it out to the customer. So the 6 to 10 weeks timeline was actually going to be about 4 months. And this is also an important thing to note. This company does a lot of pre-orders that kind of ties into it later. So you'll purchase the product, they'll see how many orders they get, and then start making the products. And like I said, that's why it would be 6 to 10 weeks. Turns out it would actually be a lot longer. And you've got to bear in mind as well, this post we're reading right now, this is from a year ago. This is not October just gone. This is the year before. And I'll put the full post on screen right now so you can pause to read it. But long story short, they wanted to cancel the order because it was taking so long. And it was an absolute nightmare to do so. And in fact, it actually says in the summary of this post, avoid this company, no exchanges, no returns, horrible communication, unorganized, and if you push back at them, they act like teenage children. We also have some screenshots of emails from Bamboo Bliss to this customer as well, where they're basically talking about the estimated times and that their policies cover them and whatnot. And they actually end this email by saying that all your pending orders have been cancelled. Any order you attempt in the future will be immediately cancelled. You have been removed and banned from the VIP page. Do not ever shop with us again. Oh, and happy holidays to you. So they clearly come across as a little bit passive-aggressive, and this is definitely a reoccurring criticism that I've seen people talk about this company even way before this, recent stuff has happened. But of course, like I mentioned, that post was from a year ago, right? So you might be wondering, why am I talking about this company right now? Well, they've actually been doing pre-orders for Christmas coming up, obviously, and I think they started doing these in about October, and these items that people ordered were taking far too long, like we saw in that original post from a year ago. And in fact, Little Peeps, as they were called at this point, or Bamboo Bliss, were making posts kind of talking about the fact that these items were taking long, and basically their excuse was you need to be kind. Let's talk kindness. I wanted to address this topic as it was a non-negotiable rule in our group and to shop with our small business. We have been seeing a heightened amount of negative comments relating to orders, whether it be a pre-order or ready to ship. Christmas is on its way to our warehouse and will begin arriving this week and shipping out to you. Asking for order updates should always be addressed via customer service email. We have a group rule since the very start of our business stating that any other related questions or inquiries need to be emailed to customer service. This is the same for any other concerns or order-related matters. Which already seems to be a bit weird to me if you have this Facebook group where you have your customers in it. Like, I feel like they should be able to talk about, like, their concerns if they're not receiving an item and it's taken far too long. They also go on further to say that if you do complain in the group, like, you're going to be banned and whatnot. And then later on in the post, they say, also, please refrain from saying that we have not updated when all we have done is update and update and update. It's quite frustrating to put information out there and be addressed from tons of customers saying that there's been no update because you missed the info that was given on multiple occasions. This post is a bit more harsh because, quite frankly, it has gotten a bit out of control and it will not be tolerated considering we literally allow refunds and size changes amongst countless communication / updates. I mean, this part where they're saying they literally allow refunds, that's going to come up later. That is a very ironic statement to make. No one is forcing you to keep your order. It's quite defeating to every employee who works for us to be treated or spoken to rudely while working so hard to get your order to your door. We are not Amazon, we're mums running a small business. And that post we just read was actually 2 weeks ago today, as I'm recording this video, where they're saying like, look, we're getting the order sorted, that's the newest update, you can get refunds. This is a really recent update. Well, we do actually have a more recent update, which was 10 days after the post we just read, talking about like the refunds, the orders are coming, please be kind and everything like that. And now we have this update. 10 days after the thing we just read, right? Business is closed. Hey guys, we have some very sad and unfortunate news. Due to factors entirely out of our control, we will be closing our business. There are many different factors, but we will not be going into detail. There will be plenty of assumptions made, and most will not be correct, but we will not be explaining each reason. Please just know that we have done everything we can to keep going, and please know that just because a business has to close, it does not make them scammers. Okay, so straight away, the fact that they've even had to clarify that does make you think that something is going to be said later on in this statement that would suggest that maybe they are scamming people. And that is exactly what happened, right? Later on in the post, in my opinion, they do something that seems a little scammy. It's popular in our market / industry for that assumption to be made and spread around, but it could not be farther from the truth. We love this business and our customers. We have fought hard and long to make it work. We are heartbroken over this reality and closure. We have absolutely loved this journey and we sincerely appreciate all of you have been supporting our brand. We will not be providing refunds, monitoring any social platforms, or monitoring our customer service emails at all. If you had any pending orders, please file a chargeback for each order to receive your money back. We encourage you to do that. Okay, so not only are they having to close the company, which is fine, right? Companies do have to close, that does happen. But on top of that, they are saying that they're not going to be refunding people for these items that are already ridiculously late. It was a pre-order, it took ages to come. They've had to make multiple statements, as they said, kind of addressing the fact that it's so late. And now out of nowhere, their customers are being told that they are not going to be receiving their money back or the items at all. And the only way they can get their money back is by doing these chargebacks with their bank. Now, a lot of people have been saying that they've actually been having problems getting these chargebacks because of the company's like name changing. I would like to think that that is something that the banks can work around regardless of it being a bit confusing and complicated at first, but obviously it was called Bamboo Bliss, now called Little Peeps, and it seems like there was tons of people who were saying they were having problems with the chargebacks because of that, right? They ordered through Bamboo Bliss and now they get a refund from Little Peeps. Now, of course, they didn't go into a lot of details as to why they're having to close the company. We do have quite a lot of answers, or what seem like to be the answers, a little bit later on. But first of all, because of this happening, a lot of people go into TikTok, to these Facebook groups, to Reddit, to voice their opinions. A lot of people saying they were out of money. Now, one creator on TikTok who's made a video about this is Jordan Albright, who had a lot to say. Now, first of all, actually said that she used to love Bamboo Bliss and used to love their products, but then started hearing some horror stories.
I used to truly love them. They were one of my favorite brands. I love the quality, I love the prints. But then when I started sharing about them, because I loved their stuff, I started getting messages from people about like, hey, have you heard like this sketchy shit going on with them and their bad customer service and how horrible they are? And I was like, I've never had this experience. This seems weird. So I kind of like dialed back my shopping and was like a little unsure about them.
And then goes on to say that her friend actually had a bad experience with this company.
And then something big happened with one of my friends. It's not my story to tell, but they really screwed over her shop. And that was like, boom, done. Like, I think it was like August. I was like, I am never giving them another penny of my money.
But before she found out about the situation with Bamboo Bliss and her friend, she already had some pending orders from July that were supposed to be shipped out in October. She still hasn't received them, and obviously she's not going to be receiving them because of this new, like, situation.
So one of the last orders I placed with them was in July. Their Christmas pre-order prints that were expected to ship in October. As you can guess, these never shipped out.
I mean, that's how long people have been waiting for these pre-orders, by the way, since July, for these Christmas, like, prints or whatever they are. That is a long time already. Like, what, we're December 2nd as I'm recording this video? ordered in July, that's a long time. And it wasn't until 4 days ago that they've been told that they're just not receiving these items at all. But the fact that a lot of these orders were made in like July or around that time really makes that original statement when they're talking about like kindness and that like people need to be kind, stop asking for updates and whatnot. It makes that statement seem even more ridiculous because people have been waiting a long time. Like, of course people are going to start getting impatient. Why wouldn't they at that point?
It is about to be December in a couple days. And guess what? These jammies do not exist. They are not sending them out to anybody. And they have been pushing all week 50% off our Christmas that nobody is getting.
Right, so just this week they were doing this like 50% deal, like almost, obviously this is an assumption, right? It might not be true, just my opinion, but it almost seems like they were just trying to scrape as much money out of people as possible before they did this closure. And Jordan even goes on to talk about this rebrand with like the name change and says that it seems like it's because of they were trying to hide their bad reputation with the previous name.
They rebranded like 2-3 weeks ago from calling themselves Bamboo Bliss to calling themselves Little Peeps because of their bad reputation.
And then Jordan ends the video by saying like, yes, Bamboo Bliss or Little Peeps, whatever you want to call them, can say that they're not coming across as scammers, but it does seem a little bit scammy.
But it's pretty freaking sketchy. And they like to say that we're not scamming anybody. Excuse me, what do you mean you're not scamming anybody? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Christmas pajama orders on top of all the other orders. You're just not going to refund them? Excuse me, what? Like, I don't understand how you call that not like a scam, like how that's not fraud.
And if we actually take a look in the comments of this video, we can see like other customers who have ordered and obviously have just found out that they're not going to be receiving these items. Like this comment right here saying, I have $546 worth of pre-orders pending with them. Truly so frustrated with them. I have 3 orders I'm currently trying to get my money back on. And then we've got quite a concerning comment here that says, most cards have a 120-day chargeback, so July orders are most likely just lost money. Now, obviously, I don't really know how American banks work. Could be very different to here. Who knows? But if this is true, then that is a really shitty situation for people who did order at July or maybe even earlier. And again, there's more comments like almost $400 in Christmas PJs. Like a lot of people made like really big orders for a lot of money and are just finding out that they spent that money on absolutely nothing at this point. Now, of course, like I said earlier, there wasn't a lot of answers in this statement as to why the store is closing. They kind of just said they're closing due to circumstances that are not in their control. But it does seem like we do have some potential answers. Now, there could be multiple reasons, it might not just be this, but from my opinion, it seems like this could definitely have a big effect on the fact that they're closing the company. And this is because of multiple current lawsuits against Bamboo Bliss. Now, I've personally found 5 of them. It's quite hard for me as a British person to like access these American lawsuits. They make it quite hard if you're not in America. But I found 5 of them. There could be more. And all 5 of these lawsuits are very, very similar. Basically, they all kind of boil down to the fact that Bamboo Bliss allegedly took like a business loan from a company. They took some funding, like capital funding, where they would receive a big sum upfront to help with their company and they would pay it back over time, and they haven't been paying these back. But either way, let's briefly go through each one and actually see what the numbers are like here, because they are massive, right? So there's this first one where the plaintiff is Seamless Capital Group LLC, and it's against Bamboo Bliss. On or about November 7th, 2024, plaintiff and merchant defendants entered into a future receivable sale and purchase agreement whereby plaintiff agreed to buy all rights of merchant defendants to certain future business receipts having a face value of $59,960, the purchase amount, for the purchase price of $40,000. So basically, from what I understand, this is a deal between this funding company and Bamboo Bliss, where Bamboo Bliss receive an upfront payment of $40,000. Over time, they have to pay back $59,000. And the way that they would pay this back seems to be very similar in each of these lawsuits, right? So for this one, for example, they would pay back 12.5% of the merchant defendant's business receipts on each business day. So 12.5% of the money on their business receipts would be paid back to this funding company, right? But again, a theme among all of these lawsuits pretty much. Very quickly, this went to shit, right? Line 20, we say here, on November 8, 2024, the default date, merchant defendants breached the agreement, thereby causing an event of default by ceasing to remit the specified percentage to plaintiff without ever demonstrating any right to reconciliation or adjustment or an excuse recognized under the agreement for failing to perform. And each of these funding companies are suing to receive the amount of money that they're owed, plus any additional fees, plus an interest, depending on how long this takes, and attorney fees. So for this specific lawsuit, for example, they are suing for $79,746 plus 9% interest per annum from November 8th, 2024. And now that we have a gist of like what's actually happening here, like I said, all the lawsuits are very similar. We're just going to talk about like the numbers and whatnot. But if you do want to see the full details, obviously they're out there. This next lawsuit is from Velocity Capital Group LLC, which states that Bamboo Bliss owes $123,000 from this like loan agreement that they have. And that was to be paid from 7% of Bliss's revenue. So obviously slightly different in the numbers. The last one was 12.5%. And Velocity is seeking $134,000 with 9% interest. And also on top of that, $33,000 for attorney fees. For this next lawsuit, the plaintiff is Mason Capital Group Inc. They were eventually supposed to be owed $59,960 from Bamboo Bliss. And as you can probably guess at this point, very quickly after that, I believe like 5 days, they breached the contract, they didn't pay it back, it was supposed to be daily. And because of this, Mason Capital Group is seeking $74,950 plus attorney fees. And again, the fourth lawsuit now, this is with BizFund LLC. They were supposed to eventually receive $149,000 and the estimated daily payments were $1,656. And they are now seeking $158,000 plus interest and attorney fees. And finally, the fifth lawsuit here is with Forest Capital Group LLC. They were eventually to be owed $70,000. The defendant, Bamboo Bliss, has paid back $4,666, leaving the remaining amount at $65,333. And they are now seeking $81,000 plus interest and attorney fees, right? This is a lot of money in total that they are being sued for, like a ridiculous amount of money. And at the end of the day, if they have an agreement where they have to pay back a certain amount of money and they haven't been doing that, I don't know. Obviously, I haven't seen the full agreements. I haven't read through it all, right? I'm not an attorney, right? But it seems like if that is the agreement, they haven't been doing it, it seems like a pretty easy case for these companies. And that's a lot of money that's going to have to be paid out to these companies. I have no idea why they wanted to put themselves in so much interest where they're going to be paying back so many different people daily, like quite high percentages as well, right? Like 12.5%. We saw one where it was going to be about $1,600, another 7%. Like, there's a lot of percentages being paid out daily off their earnings. And yeah, just reading the agreements, it did not seem like a good idea, and clearly it wasn't a good idea. But I think it's a fair assumption to make, in my opinion, that this probably had a big impact on the fact that they have now closed. This was one of the big reasons. Obviously, in my opinion, like I said, there might be multiple different reasons, but it seems like this is a big one. And yeah, now the customers are paying the price, right? Like, they are out of their money. They can't contact this company in any way. All the social medias are gone. They're not replying to emails. There is literally no way of contacting this company. It's like they didn't exist. And I imagine Bamboo Bliss, again, this is my opinion, right? I'm just making assumptions here, but it seems like they are going to be using the money from the customers to help with these legal battles. And God knows how much money they did receive from customers. It seemed like they had a pretty dedicated, like, customer community, whatever the word is. So it seemed like they did receive a lot of orders, probably did get a lot of money from these customers. And obviously they don't have to actually send anything out in return for that anymore. So yeah, it does seem like to be that they may be using it for the attorney fees. And at the end of the day, on the last week before they closed, they were talking about like 50% discount and whatnot, like getting more money from people. I refuse to believe that they just found out they had to close on that day. It had to be something that was building up, right? So it seems a bit dodgy that they would still be taking money from people and actually kind of convincing people to order more by doing these sales. Like, it all seems really, really dodgy. As you can imagine, a lot of customers are not happy. And yeah, I don't blame them. But either way, that is the situation up until now, right? Obviously, these are all allegations. It's just stuff that I've read online. I don't know all the facts. I don't know any of these people in person, right? So there might be more to the story. Maybe they do actually give an updated response at some point. Who knows? Obviously, they have kind of like vanished at this point, so who knows? But either way, would love to know your opinions in the comment section down below on everything that we spoke about. If you did enjoy, please leave a like on it, subscribe if you are new, and until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.